Good afternoon everybody and welcome to round 13 of the AOR F1 2013 Season 7 Championship. It's the Indian Grand Prix. We're racing around the Bud International Circuit today. I'm Matthew Gallagher and today we may well witness Noble take 5 straight championships in a row. And the man sitting next to me to watch this all happen is Scott Woodwis.
Thank you very much, Matthew. Good to be back once again. Of course, this is quite an intriguing little circuit, the Bud International Circuit. 16 turns, they'll race across 30 laps of the 5.1 kilometre venue. Very much a typical Herman Tilke design. Lots of technical sections in Sector 2, and the long straights in Sectors 1 and 3 are certainly going to make for some interesting passing and slipstreaming opportunities. Of course, Noble has a great chance if he stays to take the title today, but of course, Matty and Limitless are still locked in that battle for second place in the championship to try and see who will be best of the runner-ups. But it's going to be quite an intriguing spectacle to see how they're going to tackle 30 laps of the circuit today. Hopefully it should be a good race.
Should be brilliant. This is how it's going to go down. Noble will win the championship if he finishes in the top 6, and that is with Limitless winning the race as well. So we will find out, and if Limitless doesn't win the race, then it is game over. Noble is a 5-time champion. So the Season 6 podium was Noble taking the victory from Limitless and xMattyG coming home in 3rd. Noble taking pole position as well. Let's find out how Noble and Limitless did in the qualifying comparison.
Welcome to the qualifying comparison for the Indian Grand Prix. We've got what will be the front row pairing for the race, Noble 2909 and TRL Limitless on the screen going head to head once again, so let's see how their laps compared. Turn 1 up first, a 90-degree right-hander before keeping the car left through turn 2, and then a difficult uphill braking for turn 3, one of the most important corners on the circuit, so very important to take a nice late apex, get the car as straight as possible when planting the power on the exit to get the smoothest run down this long back straight, which is one of 2 DRS zones, with the other being located on the pit straight. Full KERS charge being used at this point by the drivers as they head into the bumpy braking zone of turn 4, taking a nice wide and sweeping entry, and at the apex they are practically even as they drop down on the exit and power into the second sector. A difficult sequence of corners coming up as we head into a double apex left-hander first, carrying good entry speed before getting it slowed down for a smooth run through this small chicane. A blind right-left chicane ahead, 4th gear on the entry, flicking it left over the crest on pure instinct and hoping that they've got it right, which they both just about managed to do. And now this long sweeping right-hander carrying lots of entry speed, run out wide mid-corner to open up the second apex, which is so nearly flat out as we're now into the 3rd sector. A fast left-right chicane and it's Limitless slightly ahead at the pausing mark with just a couple of corners to go now. The penultimate corner is very difficult off camber and downhill, causing understeer, but the drivers navigate it just fine. And now the final corner ahead, braking nice and late, trying to get a smooth exit and power to the line with some DRS. And it'll be Noble coming out on top in another closely contested comparison against Limitless, and they'll line up on the front row for the race. Back to your main commentators now for the full qualifying classifications.
Thank you very much once again to Harry Jacks for that qualifying comparison. Now let's take a look at how they'll line up for this afternoon's Indian Grand Prix. As we've just seen, it's Noble 2909 looking to secure his 5th straight title on pole position by 42 thousandths of a second from championship rival TRL Limitless in the Toro Rosso. Row 2 sees Tiro Rosberg, ever impressive in the Ferrari, and the second Williams of xMattyG, while Row 3 sees the second Toro Rosso of TRL Minty, alongside Tyrrell Martin in the second Ferrari. Row 4 sees the first of the McLarens with RickeeyC alongside Fisi Fan, or Norwegian in the first of the Red Bulls. Row 5 sees HyperX Callum and Randy McStrandy for Force India and McLaren. Row 6 sees SE Racing Team for Caterham, Trace 92 in the second Red Bull, and the 13th and final starter on the grid is the Commentated, the Italian in the Sauber, and the only man to start on the prime tyres in the mediums, 1.2 seconds behind pole. 2 non-starters today, Jason 97 F1 in the second Force India, and Maisie CZ, the Czech driver in the second Sauber. There's your grid, now let's see if Noble can make history for this afternoon's Season 7 Indian Grand Prix.
It's race time. It's the Indian Grand Prix. It's xMattyG and RapidScorpion commentating for you today on another no % chance of rain race. So it's all down to the drivers. The strategy is going to be key, Scott. Is Noble going to take it?
Well, possibly. He's got a great chance starting in pole position, but of course the fight's also on for second between Limitless and Matty. Limitless needs to get all the points he can to extend his advantage. Matty needs to finish in front of him to keep himself in the hunt, but of course anything can happen at this kind of circuit, and it usually does. We're going to get set for the lights. Can Noble make history? I guess there's only one way to find out.
Lights have been activated. We now have 3, 4. The final light is now on, and we are racing in the Indian Grand Prix. We're on board with Ricky, and Rosberg is not moving. It seems like he's got technical issues, so he has not moved off the grid. Matty automatically up into 3rd position, going down towards turn 1 now. And then who's that going? Well, it's a Toro Rosso of someone, I think that is. But Randy's managed to push himself up into 7th place. RapidScorpion looking around the outside of Fisi down towards turn 3. And here we go. Who is going to get a good run out of this hairpin? Because it's going to be crucial. And it's going to be interesting to see if the drivers use all of their curves on this straight or if they save it for the next straight as well, which we have seen in real life actually with Hamilton and Massa. And that's how they collided a few years back. It looks like no one's actually making many moves down towards turn 4, and Limitless getting very close indeed towards Noble, but Noble has maintained his lead and his pole position that he took. It was very close in qualifying between the top 4, and as you can see, the top 3 and Rosberg, who hadn't moved off the line, very close indeed. So here we go, Matty coming through this very tight corners now, and right behind Limitless. He wants to get past Limitless as quickly as possible so that he can work with his teammate to try and pull away. We now move to Fizzy Fan in 10th position in the sole points paying position at the moment behind SE, getting caught in that draft of that Caterham engine and just about managing to get through these corners. But and who's that off? That looks like it's a Toro Rosso of some kind. I think I'm actually hearing in my ear that it's TRL Minty suffering from some very severe lag issues. You can see, look, he's just jolting all about the place on Ricky's screen, and this could mean a lot. Well, he's actually gone straight off the track and then rejoined on Ricky's screen. This could be catastrophic for some drivers, Scott.
It could possibly. Minty actually had some dramas at the first start. He was actually the car that ran wide at turn 1, so possibly the lag issues was causing the problems there. But on board with Fizzy down towards turn 1, they seem to have all held position. No major dramas in the first lap, so it looks like they've all got away relatively unscathed. Fizzy all over the curves on the exit through turn 2. Martin locks the brakes, but Minty goes wide again thanks to his lag. He's dropped all the way back to, I think, he's about 7th or 8th. If we're now on board with SC Racing Team getting a better exit, trying to pull alongside the Sole Force India of iPro Callum for 8th position. He won't get DRS just yet. We're still on lap 2. We skip forwards to Limitless in 2nd place, once again just closing under brakes as they cut straight from 318 kilometers now down to about 50, as Minty is hit from the rear by Ricky. Of course, the lag problems are meaning it's not getting any easier out there for the Toro Rosso driver, but on board with Noble, he's running a little bit wide as he heads into turns 5 and 6, and he now has, of course, Limitless and Matty all over the back of him as they head out of the complex and towards the very long double apex right-hander of turn 10. And Limitless certainly putting Noble under pressure early, and that's exactly what he needs to do, to try and force him into a mistake early on. And Noble's not one that makes mistakes often, but nothing's impossible, especially in the AOR, as we now back on board with Randy, and he's now chasing after Marston. Minty just completely off the throttle there through the corner. Again, possibly some lag issues causing that again, and he again pops up in front of both Marston and Minty, and Marston being very cautious going around the outside, but certainly this is going to cause problems all race long as Randy goes to the outside and Minty with his lag problems straight into the side of Martin at the final corner. Now, Martin will feel hard done by, but of course I'm sure Minty will probably blame that on the lag, but whatever happens, of course, it now means that Martin down to 8th and under attack from Fizzy Fan, so Minty really is causing quite a few problems already in the midfield as they head on to lap 3. Ricky with the fastest lap of the race, but so far, Noble's holding on for right now as Limitless clips their marker on the inside. Limitless has to keep the pressure up, and of course, he has to withstand the pressure, of course, behind him from that man, xMattyG, as Fizzy Fan and Martin going to combat, exiting turn 3.
Yes, Noble looking like he's not particularly settled at the moment at this stage of the race, making a few mistakes and opening up a window of opportunity for Limitless, but then Limitless clipping that humongous bollard at turn 3 and enabling Matty to have a slight run as Fizzy runs slightly wide. Minty's lost connection finally, so I'm sure a lot of the drivers will be very relieved. And here comes Martin trying to retake 8th position, because I think he was in 8th a minute ago and Fizzy must have taken it off him, but now Fizzy running slightly wide, but just about managing to keep it on the track, and Martin looks like he's struggling as well. I am sure he is absolutely raging in that cockpit after that incident with Minty, which was completely and utterly not his fault. Here's a replay of Matty. He looks to the left and sees that Rosberg was still having technical issues. He heard whilst he was going onto the grid that Rosberg was, and there you have it. He has not moved off the grid and probably lost at least half a minute compared to the leaders once he actually started to get going. So now down in towards turn 1. This is where the lag problems start, all just from turn 1. Minty just does not make it easy for any of the drivers behind him, and you can see here Martin being very tentative on the brakes. Fizzy clipping the right rear wheel of the Ferrari and losing a couple of positions. And here we go with Randy. You can see just hanging around the outside, getting his rear hit by some car and then actually getting up into 7th place because of it. That could have easily ended badly, and SC just about well, I think he went through Rosberg's car as it had ghosted and just about managed to get away with it. And yeah, so it looks like the top 3, from what I've gathered from the first 3 laps, Scott, it seems that they're getting away slightly after Martin's lag issues. And well, you've got to think from the past races, it's just going to be the same 3 that are out in front.
It certainly seems to be very comfortable as we continue to watch the replays. This is Fisi under attacking SE Racing Team through turns 5 and 6, and we continue to look. That's obviously the problem that Minty had, and just the incredible amount of lag. And here's the replay. Look at that, straight up the inside, bang! There's the contact, and Martin will feel very aggrieved at that one. Obviously, that was not his fault at all. Minty drops back to allow the rest of the guys through, and of course, he retires promptly from the race. And there's SE Racing Team up the inside of Pro X Callum to take 6th position, so a good start for him. And back with Limitless as he's on the rear end of Noble, almost touching the diffuser of the Williams as they head out to turn 4. Back to the point we mentioned, of course, back on board with Limitless. These 3 have started to pull away. They have about at least a half a second advantage over Ricky in 4th. But of course, as I said, these guys are effectively they're top 3 in the championship in the order they are in the championship, in the top 3. So Noble is holding station right now. Limitless is putting him under pressure, but of course he's in a catch-22. He is in a Williams sandwich because Matty's giving cause for concern behind in 3rd place. So they're going to be pushing each other just as hard as they can to try and drive away. And of course that's going to only spell misfortune for Ricky trying to keep up with them, because the 3 of them will be battling amongst each other. But he may benefit from that if there's a bit of contact and they come to blows. That's Fisi fan drafting past Martin as his miserable race continues, back down to 9th place. If he's not careful, he'll start marching his way back towards the rear of the field, and he's already coming under attack, I think, from one of the Saubers. That's either Maisie or the Constantins behind him. It could be possibly Maisie because he was the highest starting Sauber on the grid. Back towards the front of the field, and Noble still getting grief from Limitless, and no surprise because of course Limitless will want to try and make sure he stops, or tries to prolong, in fact, as long as he can, the inevitable that Noble, it looks as though he is on course to take his 5th AOR title in a row, as Ricky now holds on to 4th place ahead of his teammate. And these 2 McLarens are not it's not unusual for those 2 to go into combat at some point during the race. There's no team orders, of course, between them. But so far, the top 3 holding station nicely. The McLaren's doing well to hold in 4th and 5th. As I say that, Ricky darts into the pits, a little bit wide, but manages to head in. So, interesting strategy that the option tire is not lasting as long as we possibly expected. Only as long as lap 4, but the soft tire is definitely proven their worth as Ricky changes onto the prime medium compound tire, and away he goes, as does Fisi fan. So early stops for quite a few drivers means that obviously they're going to possibly be running for quite a few stops this afternoon.
Yeah, the options don't run for very long here at all. I mean, lap 4, a lot of the drivers are pitting, and it's going to prove a little bit difficult for Matty and Noble, who have both stayed out on lap 5 now. And this is probably, from what I've heard from the drivers, it's the optimum lap to pit on is lap 5. So I'm guessing unless Matty can get past Noble, as Limitless tries to get past Noble into the hairpin, Matty's going to have to go an extra lap, which means that he could be suffering quite a bit that come lap 6. So it's going to be interesting to see how he copes with that, as we're now on board with SE Racing Team just behind Randy. He's having a good drive as SE at the moment. You can see the top 3 just ahead of him, so he's well within sight of a good finish here this afternoon if he sticks with Randy, who's usually in the sort of top end of the points. And so yeah, back towards the Toro Rosso and Limitless. I wouldn't be surprised if they both dive into the pits as he slightly cuts the corner there, but Noble, look at his front left, absolutely shredded, and he is definitely going to be coming to the pits if he has any sort of common sense. And Matty's running very well. Look at Matty's tyres, are even worse, and it looks like if Noble peels into the pits now, which he does, and it looks like Matty didn't know about that, and he's gone slightly wide and has to carry on. This could be absolutely catastrophic for Matty's chances in 2nd place. The championship as SE very close to Randy into the pits. He tried to sneak up the inside, but there was nowhere to go. And how Noble hits his marks and is changing onto the prime tyres. It looks like it is going to be, well, it looks like everyone's going to be going onto those prime tyres. Yep, Limitless does. And SE getting slightly held up into the in the pits by about 0.4 of a second, letting Randy through. But Randy did just about come into the pits ahead of him. And this is Ricky with the undercut, has gotten, well, he's right behind Limitless and Noble now, using that undercut, and Fisi using the undercut literally on Callum and going up into 9th place. But that could prove difficult going down the straight, as Callum will have DRS. And here we go, Randy now coming down the straight. Is he going to come under pressure from SE? Let's have a look. SE is using half of his curves. No, he's going through the whole bar by the looks of things. And now Randy's teammate Ricky in 6th place, right behind Limitless now. Ricky has put himself into the battle for the lead, as using that extra lap on those fresher tyres. It could mean that Limitless and Noble pull away towards the end of the stint as Ricky's tyres go off, but he has set a purple sector. He is absolutely flying, and we know that Ricky can pull off some great results, and maybe it could be one this afternoon, Scott.
Possibly. RickeeyC is always one for getting up on the podium. He was a regular up there fighting for podiums when he was in the Caterham last season. Now he's in the McLaren, of course. He's had one or two misfortunes, particularly during the first part of Season 7, but we have to wait and see. Of course, he might get himself up there if he can capitalise on any of the top three, especially the two Williams and Limitless falling into troubles. As Matty running incredibly wide, that's the result of having incredibly worn tyres, and he does just about manage to anchor it into the pits. As now the Confidence is down to second place, but he's also making his stop as well, which means this should now effectively put, well, I think unless Martin's making his pit stop, Noble should resume the lead. Or at least, Martin will be leading for the moment, I think. And away goes Matty now onto a set. Yeah, it should be anyway. But Matty gets away, of course, on the prime tyres. RickeeyC sets the fastest lap of the race on his fresh tyres, 127.4. And Matty running a little too deep, as those are still stone cold, these prime medium tyres. Fisi into 7th place.
Sorry, Scott, just to butt in there quickly. Look where Matty's actually come out. He's come out in 9th position, and most of the drivers are pitted now.
Yeah, I think, and that's what's cost him effectively. The fact that he had to stay out a lap longer because that Noble actually had to come in and try and maintain his position and stop Limitless from getting the undercut, which he was trying to gain on the Williams driver, and that really has compromised Matty's race for the moment at least. Of course, he's going to have quite a task to try and push his way back through the field, back in 9th position. But of course, Noble and Limitless are still fighting up at the front in 2nd and 3rd. As of course now Constance now continues to lead. Now it's actually Constance leading, not Marston. I apologise for that. As we now skip now to Limitless near the end of a lap, and Limitless continuing on to put the pressure onto Noble. Of course, both now on the prime tyres as they head down the pit straight to begin lap 8 of 30. So coming up to a 3rd race distance already. Matty's still down in 9th, but a few more guys into the pits to make their first stops, and he's going to come across the line in, or maybe not. I must have misread the map for a second. Apologies for that. But Essie now on the back of Randy for 4th place. And as you said, great run by the Caterham driver SE Racing Team. Of course, he made his debut last year in Season 6, mainly with Williams. But then, of course, he's joined Caterham for the duration of Season 7. Now he's getting a real run on Randy to move into 4th place. A wonderful drive so far for an SE Racing Team. Long may it continue. As Noble, again, under attack for Limitless. He runs wide across the curb. And Limitless cannot get away through, but he's certainly sniffing around the rear of that Williams. And I think in many cases, Matty, it might be a case of when rather than if he gets through into the lead.
Yeah, it seems like Limitless has the pace advantage on Noble at the moment, or maybe Noble is just trying to save some fuel at this point in time. We don't actually know, but I don't think Noble will be that happy that Limitless is all over the back of him at this stage of the race, because we all know that Noble thrives in having about a 3 to 4 second lead. That is where he just seems to romp away. So Noble's not got it easy this afternoon. I'm sure Limitless wants to get that victory so he can then try and cement 2nd place in the championship. With xMattyG down in 9th position at the moment, he's got a very good chance of extending that lead. So we'll see. We've got 22 laps to go. Just about to start lap 9 now, with Randy all over the back of SE Racing Team coming around the final corner. He's saved some curves as well, so maybe he's going to try it down into turn 1, or he's actually forgotten that he's got half curves left. It seems like that was actually the second one. Matty now up into 8th position, and using the DRS and trying to get past Callum. It looks like down towards turn 1. Here we go. Is he going to make it stick? Much more confident on the brakes, going slightly wide, but it looks like he's just about managed to get up into 7th place, and he has got Fisi ahead of him now. Matty setting the fastest lap as well for 26.6, and now right behind Fisi. We should get DRS on Fisi as well, so maybe we're going to see a double overtake in a matter of corners. But we've now cut to Randy McScraddy, who's going to try and get past SE Racing Team down towards turn 3. Can he make it stick? No, he's not going to make a move, but is Matty going to make a move down towards turn 3? Yes, he is. He's now going to try and stop the car, and he's just about managed it and is up into 6th position now. So this is going to have to be a comeback drive from Matty, who is quite a few seconds back from 5th position and nowhere near the fight for the lead at the moment, which is exactly where he wants to be, because that is where his 2nd place championship rival is, of TRL Limitless, and he is fighting for the win at the moment, as Fisi is struggling quite a bit on those prime tyres at the moment, as it looks like he went for the lap 4 pitting, and he's gone 6 laps almost now on those prime tyres. So I think it's going to be a 3-stop. Well, it definitely is for Fisi by the looks of things, as he's come into the pits. Well, he's actually on options again, so it looks like he's maybe gone for 2 option stints and maybe 2 prime. So that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. So maybe some people are going to go for 3 prime stints and others are going to go for an option and 2 primes. But it's going to be interesting to see, as Randy is all over the back of SE once again. Here we go. Can he make it stick? It looks like he should easily get past. It is a humongous straight, it is at India. And he's got DRS as well to aid him even more. And here we go with the slipstream, and now coming out of it. It looks like he's going to go back up into 4th place. And TRL Limitless still all over the back of Noble and going nowhere for the fight for the lead, Scott.
Certainly keeping him honest up at the front. Of course, we hit 1/3 race distance, and Noble look as though he almost ran a little bit too wide through turns 5 and 6, but managing to keep it on the black stuff. And SE Racing Team starting to fall away a little bit from Randy in 4th position. Now we follow Fisi Fan, as he is now, obviously at the moment, at least on track, 10th place behind. And what a quietly driven race from Trace United 2. He's up there in the top 10. If he holds where he is, he'll have himself a point for his troubles. And now back towards the front, and we watch Limitless as he really is giving Noble the hurry up now at the big start of lap 11. And look at how close he is. A huge lock-up from Noble into the braking zone of turn 3. And Limitless is close enough now that he will be in with DRS range into Rich Mix 3. He's setting himself up for a pass using half his curves. It looks like also Noble's desperate to get away. He's emptying the tank down the back straight. And he's certainly not going as fast. He's not even 190. And already Limitless is up at 200 miles an hour. They head down towards the braking zone. Can he make a move? No, he can't. Noble far enough in front to hold on to the lead and cover the line nicely through turn 3. But Limitless in the tow now towards turns 4, 5 and 6. Well, he's 5 and 6 in fact, trying to go to the outside. He's forcing Noble to get very defensive. And thankfully somehow Noble didn't go too wide across the runoff area and running too deep into that corner as they headed into the complex. But Limitless is all over the back of the Williams. He certainly does have the more superior pace as they head towards the end of sector 2. And Limitless certainly proving that he wants this championship just as much as Noble does. But the longer that Noble spends up in these prime positions, the quicker that Limitless's chances start to slip away. Of course, he has almost now a 9/10 of a second advantage, but it certainly looks closer than that as they come to the end of lap 11. And he has pulled away slightly on this one. Looked at Limitless has been pushing a little bit too hard so far in this race. In fact, now Ricky. I was too used to Matty being in 3rd place, but Ricky and Randy are certainly putting him under pressure. So the two McLarens are starting to hunt down Limitless. On board with Ricky now. He runs a little bit wide. We're now on lap 12. We skipped forward a lap. And now back with MattyG, as we were just talking about him. He's now up to 5th place, challenging SE Racing Team to certainly setting the pace on the medium compound tyre. Can he line himself up for a pass down the pit straight? He may be able to do so. He will have DRS, and he'll get a recharge occurs when he crosses the line now. Doesn't use any, but he's got enough momentum with DRS to try and make a move on towards the inside. If he can brake late enough. Can't do it just yet. Oh, misses the back of the Caterham under braking. So Matty's starting to get a little bit held up behind SE Racing Team, but if he can get himself DRS by the time they run through, I think he will do now down the back straight. He's going to have to try and work hard in this middle part of the race to try and get close to both his teammate and Limitless if he's going to stand any chance of preventing the Toro Rosso driver of increasing his gap to him in 2nd place in the championship.
He is indeed. Looks like he's struggling quite a bit behind the Caterham driver of SE, who's having a brilliant race at the moment. He goes very defensive down towards turn 4. Can he make it stick? And it looks like SE... Oh, there's been a slight clip of his rear wheel on Matt's front right, and SE just about managing to get away with it with very defensive driving, and Matty had nowhere to go. He tried to get the undercut, but he just turned in slightly too early and clipped the back of the Caterham driver. So SE maintains 5th position for now, as the two McLaren drivers are pretty close, you'd say, to the front of the pack. Here's Noble and Limitless, and it must be about 2nd, and maybe a slight bit more now, actually, by the looks. And it's 1.4 to Ricky. So Ricky and Randy may, if they work together as they are teammates, and pass each other in the DRS zones and just make the most of that sort of speed advantage that the person that behind will have, then maybe they'll catch up to these two who are fighting very hard. Noble's gone into the pits, and Limitless has not, as Ricky comes in and he goes very wide indeed, gets slowed down in fact, because if you don't stay within those white lines towards the pits, then you do get automatically slowed down, which is what happened to Ricky there. And so Limitless has carried on for an extra lap, which is what we know Limitless likes to do, is to have fresher tyres towards the end of the race. So it's going to be very interesting to see how Noble does on his outlap, to see if he can extend his advantage out in front. He's going to have to put in a very quick lap indeed if he is going to, because he's going to really want to get it out of that 1 second DRS zone, because that is where the time is made. You can be 8/10 behind a car, but then be right behind them by the end of the straight, because the DRS is just so long here. Here we go. Fisi and SE are now still fighting again. This is probably for 5th and 6th position after everybody is pitted. So here we go. Let's see how close Fisi can get in the DRS and using all of his curves. So well, it looks like SE may have actually put it up into Rich himself. Fisi down into standard. So he's not pushing too hard to get onto the back of SE just yet, as SE's in 8th position at the moment and running slightly wide out of turn 4, pushing very hard indeed. Fisi's only pitted a few laps ago and already his tyres are looking pretty orange. And how is Limitless coping on his in-lap? It looks like he's doing okay, actually. as he's got Randy 2.8 seconds behind and Matty a further 2.1. So 5 seconds between the two people fighting for second place in the championship. Let's see if Limitless can come into the pits cleanly. It looks like he does. He doesn't get auto slowed down like Ricky did, and into the pits for another set of primes. Randy in as well, and Matty. So everybody is pitting. Matty running slightly wide and getting auto slowed down, which is not going to help his chances of a top 3 position. But here we go. They're all in the pits now. Limitless changing his tyres. Is he going to get slowed down by any cars passing the pit lane? No, he's not. No such problems for him today at the moment. Matty also no problems as well. So where is Noble? Here he is coming towards turn 1. How close is Limitless to Noble? He's actually got out of DRS zone, and it's going to be interesting to see how Limitless can do on these fresh tyres, because Scott, it looks like Limitless does have the pace advantage this afternoon.
But more crucially, Noble did gain the undercut thanks to that stop 1 lap earlier. So Limitless is going to have to work a little bit harder to try and push forwards in there. Of course, the second car between them is the Constantins, of course, who hasn't yet made his second stop. And what's interesting also as well is that Ricky's actually got out, and oh, we've lost Limitless. Now Limitless has just completely disappeared. He's had some connection problems and he's out of this race. And also Matty's having some problems as well because he's lagging all over the place. And wow, that is quite... I'm quite stunned at that one, because of course effectively that means it's now advantage from xMattyG. And also now it means, of course, advantage Noble, because of course all he has to do is finish and he will be a 5-time AOR champion, which is pretty incredible to say the least. But let's take a look at what's happened here. This is on board with Limitless here, down to 3rd place, and he just gets lost connection from everybody. Of course, it means it's a problem on his part, and he's practically driving around by himself. He has the track all to himself, and that's obviously his problem. And this is Ricky. All of a sudden, Limitless just disappears, and he finds himself in 3rd place. So effectively, unfortunately to say, that is championship over for TRL Limitless. He will not be champion this year, and practically all this man has to do is carry on and finish the remainder of this race to fight. He's already got 1 half down, another half to go, and he will be this season's champion in the AOR League. But you have to feel sorry for Limitless, of course. It's connection problems which really are no fault of his own. But he finds himself, of course, he'll have to settle for what could possibly be 2nd place in the championship, provided that Matty cannot overhaul him with the remainder of the races still left in the season to try and gain that advantage. But Noble, of course, can now pretty much just cruise at the front, as Constantins has made his pit stop. So now we're on board with Fisi fans. He starts to charge along. There is just looking in front, Matty is just in front, I think. Well, it might be yes, there is the Williams in front of him, so he's trying to chase after him for P5. But what do you make of it, Matty? Of course, that's just obviously a bit heartbreaking there for Limitless. He tried so hard, and of course, effectively, it was just a technical problem that really wasn't his fault that has effectively cost him a championship for Season 7.
No, it's heartbreaking for Limitless, and I guess that makes him and Matty even, because Matty had issues at Monza and Limitless had a really good result there. So Matty's getting his the blessings from the gods above are looking down on him this afternoon, and if he can get a good result and get onto the podium, then the second place in the championship is wide open once again, because I'm pretty sure Matty is a hefty amount behind at the moment, as Matty's looking to the outside and finally getting past SE Racing Team. A great move around the outside at turn 4 and up into 4th place, and he is now setting his sights, I think that is to Randy ahead of him. So Matty trying to push on very, very hard indeed, and get as many points here this afternoon to get 2nd place, or try to get 2nd place in the championship, and that margin to close. As I'm sure SE will have something to say about that though, if he can stay with the Williams driver, because he's had some good pace for this first 17 laps, up in 5th place at the moment. A solid 10 points for him if he stays there, and I'm sure that will do him the world of good. As Fisi is struggling again on his tyres, he's on a slightly alternate strategy, pitting early on lap 4, and then I can't remember what the other time was, but his tyres, his front left especially, is going off, and Matty is all over the back of Randy already. Matty, having pitted a lap later than pretty much everybody, and now has fresh prime tyres and is all over the back of Randy. So maybe, despite losing a good maybe even 8 or 9 seconds having stayed out, is now up into 3rd position. Can he launch an attack on Ricky and Noble? Noble is quite far away at the moment with 11 laps to go, but he is up into a podium position, which is where he wants to be. As now Fisi is going, well, he just had a car drive straight into the back of him pretty much. I'm not sure who that was. I think it was Martin, but he has now disappeared, and now Constantins is up into 7th place. But Martin not having a good race at all after Minty crashing into him, which he had no say, and he just had to accept that Minty was coming flying into his side pod, unfortunately for him. As Constantins now up into 6th position, on the fresher tyres, but he is on option tyres, so he is going to have to pit again. But most drivers are as well, as Fisi is going to have to pit very soon by the looks of his front left tyre. He is going to be struggling quite a bit in most of these corners, with the middle sector being a very, very demanding sort of sector on the tyres and the aerodynamics of the car. As Matty is now 1.2 seconds behind Ricky for second place. He is absolutely flying as the Williams driver. Maybe he's been sort of like, he's taken like, oh, Limitless is disconnected. Let's try and just get a great result here, as Ricky locking up extreme amounts into turn 3 and may well come under pressure the next time he goes onto that straight. And Fisi coming out of the pits now. Can Matty put pressure on Ricky on this lap, lap 20, with 10 laps to go, because he is going to try and hunt down his teammate. This is going to be a brilliant drive if he can make this stick up the inside. Is he down towards turn 4? No, he's going to, oh, he's locked up slightly as well. So Matty pushing very hard for a good result here this afternoon, Scott.
Well, he's certainly he's certainly looking to, though he might have the advantage, because of course you must know, of course, that Limitless is out of the race. You surely can't see him on his map, and he might have even been told that, of course, he'll see the information on his screen. He will have thought, right, game on. Let's see how many points we can take out of him going forward for the last couple of races. Let's take for the fight. Just there's a little bit of contact. He's forced Ricky wide. Now, is that going to be controversial? Because there was a little bit of contact between the two of them. Matty did force Ricky wide. I'm not sure if the Irishman is going to be very too happy with Matty's tactics on that one. Not to suggest that Matty's the contact was deliberate, but there was certainly a rubbing of wheels between the Williams and the McLaren. But what it has resulted in is Ricky running wide at turn 10 and Matty moving into second place to make it, yet again, another Williams 1-2. And more crucially, it's more crucial points for Matty to try and get himself into second place. And this is now, Fisi fans, he watches TRL Rosberg go off, and Fisi decides, I'm going to go off in sympathy, I think, if Fisi focuses too much on the Ferrari exiting stage left at turn 1. Speaking of turn 1, here we are. Second, third and fourth altogether. Matty in second, Ricky in third and Randy in fourth. As they head through turn 3 onto the back straight, where they'll be touching over 200 miles an hour thanks to the setup these guys are going to be running. DRS available for Ricky up into 7th gear, and it's still got about a third of his curves left to use, but I'm sure he'll do that towards the end of the lap. Closes in under braking on Matty. It takes a slightly wider line to try and get the undercut, but Matty's far enough in front to hold on to that position. And run out of turn 4 up towards the complex of turns 5 and 6, a very crucial double left-hander. And then this sweeping section of turns. You've got turns 7 and 8. They come at you one after the other. Ricky taking a lot of inside curve and across the grass. And Randy giving his teammate the big hurry up through the end of the section through turns 8 and 9. The long double left-hander putting a lot of strain on that front left tyre. No wonder some of them have been red raw by the time we've seen them on the indicators. And Randy really is literally pushing Ricky. It's almost like tandem drafting in NASCAR. They're pushing him along the road. As Ricky then sparks flying as the bottom of that McLaren just touches and rubs along the bottom as he clipped the curb. Lots of action going on here as Noble decides to make his final stop. So he darts into the pits. Matty will carry on, as will the two McLarens. And the key thing is here, Matt, the longer these two fight against each other, the easier it's going to be for Matty to draw away and create a gap before his final stop. But surely must come in the next couple of laps, as Noble, of course, making his final stop before he potentially could become the 5-time AOR champion.
Well, I'm pretty sure it's a done deal anyway now that Limitless is disconnected, because
absolutely.
Yeah, so well, I'm sure unless Noble blows up, he is going to finish this race. But I think it's even done anyway, because with Limitless not actually scoring, I think that's the championship done anyway. But I don't really know. I think we can all just say that I think that Limitless actually started playing F1 2013. Oh, that's lovely. I'm sure that is a lovely sight for himself to come back on. But Randy's now going up the inside of Ricky. It looks like down towards turn 4, but we've cut now to Fisi going around the outside of Martin, it looks like. And Randy's actually up into second place now. So Ricky did have to let his teammate through. But yeah, as you say, Matty has just flown away from these two on those fresher tyres. And it looks like he will be pitting on this lap. Well, as his teammate has pitted already, he should come into the pits now. Otherwise, Noble's going to get a huge advantage on those fresher tyres. But it looks like Matty's not struggling as much as he did on this first stint at the end of his option stint. His front left still looking very red indeed. So I'll be very surprised if he doesn't come into the pits at the end of the lap. And Fisi on his fresher tyres is pushing very hard, 3 seconds behind Continents, who I'm sure will have to stop again, unless I'm mistaken. But as Matty now coming into the pits, not really knowing how to come into the pits, and his auto slowed down again, so this time's going to be adding up. Although it may be half a second or something, doing that 3 times in a row is going to lose him a few seconds at least. So Matty coming into the pits with Ricky behind as well. Randy carrying on for another lap, so possibly he's going to push on to the option tyres for the final stint, which I'm not sure if that'll be a wise decision, to be honest, because the options, as we saw in the first stint for all the drivers, went off at a very, very drastic rate. So it's going to be interesting to see if Randy can pull that off, or if he comes in at the end of this lap, he may well go on to the primes. We shall see, as SE now exits pits and is in 5th place still. So this is a brilliant drive from the Caterham driver, who's been slightly inconsistent this season, you have to say. Some races he's been absolutely brilliant, and you think, wow, he could even be on for a podium. And other races he's been absolutely nowhere. So SE looks like he's done some good practice as Fisi locks up into the hairpin. He should get a reasonable drive, as he went very wide and's got Martin all over the back of him. Martin having a race to forget this afternoon. And can he take 7th place from the Red Bull? It looks like he's not. Oh, is he going to challenge into the breaking point? It looks like he is. Fisi going defensive. Martin's going to have to go to the outside. Not wise from Fisi to go defensive, because it's very hard to stop the car on the inside. And he's now going to get a run. Well, Martin's going to get a run off the exit, which he does, and is up into 7th position. So Fisi, although trying to save 7th place, had to give it up eventually to Martin, who really does have, you'd have to say, better pace than the Red Bull driver. And I'm surely if Martin has, from going from the races that Martin's been in the past, I'm sure Martin will try and pull away as Randy comes into the pits finally, and it looks like he is going to go onto the option tyres for the final 6 laps of the race. Let's have a look. Yes, the yellow striped option tyres go on, and a 3.2 second pit stop. So let's see how fast he can go the remaining laps of this race. He's probably going to have fallen away from his teammate and Matty, who will have had fresher tyres for the last few laps, as Noble sets the fastest lap of a 25.4.
So it's game on for the final 6 laps, and practically everyone's made their stops, and of course it's now a sprint to the finish. So on with Randy, of course, P4, but he is on the fresher option tyres, out of anyone in the top 4, so he could definitely put himself onto the podium at his teammates' expense. So whether or not, we did say earlier on that there's no team orders between McLaren, and we've seen that time and time again as they've scrapped amongst themselves. So that could possibly be an intriguing battle going forwards into these final few laps of this Indian Grand Prix. That was Fisi fan, as he's now starting to watch TRL Martin drive away from him. Although that said, he has got DRS and he's closing in. I may have spoken too soon. He's back into standard mix 2 in the draft to try and save some fuel. And he does close in under braking. And Martin covers that inside line and gets the much more better traction. But you've got to be careful on the exit of these corners if you're all over the curves, because that can certainly spin the rears up unnecessarily. And it can definitely hinder the kind of traction that you're trying to obtain off the corners to get the best possible line to defend your position. Now, Matty is 4.5 seconds away from his teammate, but he does have a nice cushion of just over 3 seconds to Ricky in 3rd. So at this point, in some ways, he can start to afford to just relax, but only for a tiny bit, because he can't afford to be too complacent, because if he does decide to back off a little bit more, of course, Ricky is going to be right onto his tail. Of course, he has dropped by a further 4/10 from Noble. That must only show that, of course, Noble is setting blistering pace to try and literally put this Season 7 championship to bed, of course, with the demise of Limitless from this race, thanks to his technical problems. As a with Ricky just locking up that outside front and almost running too deep onto the gravel, and that's going to allow Randy to go straight up the inside. Thank you very much, teammate. I will take that 3rd place. And Ricky's now got it all to do. Of course, he's on the harder compound and also the much more worn. Not much more worn, but of course he's on the harder compound tyre, which means that Randy has the grip advantage. But of course, Randy will have to try and use that now. He's got relatively clean air in front of him to pull away from his teammate, and Ricky will need to really push hard to use up those hard tyres as much as possible to keep the heat and the temperature and the grip, the optimum plateau of grip, in order to try and keep with his teammate. Now, Fisi is still holding on to 8th place, despite the fact he's trying to close in on Martin with his tyres already getting to yellow. But Ricky certainly locked in a battle with his teammate, and of course there's no such problems with the Williams guys. Of course, there's enough of a gap to separate the two of them. But it's been an intriguing story across this season, Matt. The fact that two McLaren guys really have been fighting amongst themselves rather than other guys in the field. And I think really their own biggest competition has been themselves, which has been quite an intriguing storyline across the season. And it's quite interesting. We need to get a reminder of where they are in points going into this race and going through. And as we say that, must be because of the commentators, because we have just lost RickeeyC, unfortunately. So the Irishman is out of this race with about 4 laps to go, and that is a real shame, because of course he was on course for a great podium place for at least further 4th place. But yeah, not much more we can say about that other than Randy up into P3. Massive shame for Ricky, as more technical problems hinder yet another driver.
Yeah, Ricky actually disconnected at the exact same time last season as well. So I think India's just a race that he should just not turn up to, because the game's extremely cruel to him. So Ricky, after another brilliant drive here at India, is, well, he was in the lead last time, I think, when he disconnected, but this time he was in a solid 4th position. Didn't really have any competition from behind, and yeah, just that's 12 points just down the drain, really. So unfortunate for him, but that means SE Racing Team is now up into 4th position, which is going to be a brilliant result for him, and I'm guessing going to give him a lot of motivation towards the end of the season to maybe practice and get some good results in again. So now on board with Fisi, who's probably on for it wanting a good result as well, because he's going to try and fight off these TRL boys, because you know, they are rapid and they are closing in very drastically on Fisi's lead in the championship. I think he's around 6th position at the moment, so he's going to want to get it back past Martin if he can. And we've now cut to lap 28, so we've only got a few laps to go, and Fisi is still within striking distance of Martin, who may well be struggling on his tyres by the looks of things, but Fisi's still within a shot of 6th position. And here we go, now cutting towards the end, the start of lap 29. Is he going to get DRS on the Ferrari driver? It looks within a second to me. So Fisi, his tyres looking pretty worn indeed, missing the apex quite drastically, and he's now going to get a very he's not going to get a very good exit out of this corner. As you can see, the Ferrari flying away from him down the straight, but he's going to have DRS, and he opens now. And I'm not sure he's going to go up the inside down to the next corner because he is too far behind. Or is he going to try a lunge? Let's have a look. Yes, he is. Fisi down, and he's locked his brakes, and unfortunate for him, Martin's going to go straight back past, but that was a decent effort from Fisi, lunging up the inside, and Martin being very aware of where his competitor is and allowing him space, which is good driving from the pair of them. But Martin maintaining 6th position, and it looks like Fisi is struggling quite a bit on his tyres now. But as far as I'm aware, as you can see slightly on the minimap, Noble is still out in front with Matty 2nd, having a comfortable cushion to Randy in 3rd, the final lap. And this is where Noble can just take a look, I'm sure. He's got Matty 3.5 seconds behind on fresher tyres, and maybe he won't be able to do a donut over the line, but he's certainly going to be able to just have a look and just, you know, soak it in that he's about to take his 5th championship in a row, which is just absolutely outstanding. He's clearly the class of the field, and he has been for many seasons now. He's had a few challenges of his teammate and Limitless and the other TRL boys, but he's managed to fend them off and take a 5th championship in a row. Will it be the same next season? We'll have to find out. We've got a few races this season with the second in the championship still to be fought out of, with Limitless disconnecting and Matty up in 2nd. Noble actually with -1 lap of fuel, and Matty now 2.9 seconds behind, so he's still pushing on, and you can actually see him on your screen now. So maybe Noble is going to have to look in his mirrors slightly as Matty's pushing on after having to stay out a lap extra and losing a hefty amount of time at the start of the race. And here is Fisi looking up the inside of Martin. He's locked up his front right, and looks like Martin's struggling on his tyres as well. But Martin still maintaining 6th position for now, and Fisi having to put into fuel conservation mode. And here we have it, Noble coming around the final few corners, 2.1 seconds ahead of Matty now, struggling so much on those tyres. Maybe one more lap and it may have been different, or Matty would have at least had a shot at him. But Noble coming around the final corner now is going to take victory at India, and is going to beat the 5-time AOR champion. What an incredible achievement. Matty coming back from a 9th position at one point to 2nd. What a great drive from him. And Randy taking the final podium position as well for McLaren. Unfortunately, Ricky does not come home in 4th. It's SE Racing Team in the Caterham, and Martin looks like he is just about managing to fend off Fisi for 6th position, weaving slightly and possibly just saying, you're not getting 6th position from me. But wow, what a finish, Scott. And yeah, Noble, 5-time champion.
Is there no stopping this boy? It was just absolutely incredible. You run out of superlatives from Noble every single time he does it. As there's Fisi fans' last-ditch attempt on the penultimate lap to try and get past Martin, and that pretty much put it to bed. And he tried once again. He locked up that inside front, but Martin just had enough to cover the line and to hold on. And of course, this is the end of it. Of course, Noble in celebration, weaving this way and that, and who can blame him? Wow, like I said, you run out of superlatives to describe just how dominant this guy is when you give him the chance. And I think it's safe to say that, yeah, in Sebastian Vettel style this time, he definitely won't get a fine or any kind of penalties for it. In AOR, it is allowed. He is the Season 7 champion, so congratulations to him. And of course, congratulations to Williams for securing a driver's title. And there's no surprise that this man is going to be absolutely ecstatic. 5 alive for Noble 2909, with the second still up for grabs. But yeah, the question is there any stopping Noble? Can anyone topple him in Season 8? I'll have to find out. But for now, of course, congratulations to him and to Williams on another superb season.
Absolutely brilliant. And let's have a look at the standings for the Indian Grand Prix. Noble taking the victory from 1.1 seconds from his teammate xMattyG in the end, with Randy finishing in a very solid 3rd position. SE Racing Team, a brilliant 12 points for him in 4th. with the Continents having a great drive as well and finishing in 5th position in the Sauber. TRL Martin, a race to forget for him after that incident with Minty, finishing in 6th, just fighting off Fisi Fan 91 for 7th place in the first of the Red Bulls. TRL Rosberg, after not starting off the grid, finishes in 8th position. Great drive from him. I mean, considering he had about half a minute to catch up, that's a great drive from him for not quitting. Tracy 92 coming in with 2 points, 47 seconds off the lead, with RickeeyC still getting a point despite not finishing, so there's a little consolation prize for him. Limitless, the big scout, not finishing this afternoon, with Minty also not finishing after his lag problems. Callum getting disqualified, and Jason and Maisie not starting. Matty taking the fastest lap of the 25.3. And it was an interesting race, Scott. Probably not one of the classics because of some disconnections that ruined the race, the racing, I suppose, with Ricky and Limitless. But the Drivers' Championship, you can see the second place is up for grabs still. Matty 28 points behind, so it's still a mountain to climb for him, Scott. But Noble 300 points.
Yeah, and that is pretty much 300 and over for Noble, of course, in the title. But the fight for second place still goes on. So, of course, 28 points between separates Limitless and Matty, and it can be overturned. It's not impossible. There's still enough points and enough potential for Matty to overhaul Limitless should his bad luck and his pace not carrying through. The battle is still going on between the two McLarens. Ricky, despite not finishing, his advantage on his teammate has been cut to 5 points. 102 for Ricky and 97 for Randy, thanks to his third place today. We've got Fizzy Fan in 6th, and then we've got a battle going on between Martin and Mint. Fizzy Fan 6th, then he's about 21 points ahead of Martin in 7th. Minty and Trace separated by a point, and a further 2 points back is Continents. So a lot of battling going on down in the bottom end towards the relegation zone. And in the Constructors' Championship, well, I think it's safe to say that Williams have this one practically sewn up. Of course, they are, I think I'm right in saying, the Season 7 AOR Champions for F1 2013. Congratulations to them. Of course, with the same formidable combination of Matty and Noble that took Toro Rosso to the title, of course, it was only a matter of time that Williams would get there to get their day as well. Toro Rosso 2nd, McLaren 3rd with their fantastic points haul. Ferrari still 4th, but holding on by just 13 points from Red Bull. Caterham up there in 6th, thanks to and some much needed points to get away from Sauber, thanks to SE Racing Team in 4th place. Sauber 4th, 7th, and Force India. To be fair, they've had quite a season to forget. 8th with 24 points. They have to do some catching up. Of course, catch up is what everyone's going to have to be doing, of course, in the next couple of rounds, and it all kicks off, of course, in the final few rounds of the season. Starting off, of course, with Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, next week, the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, which is going to be very interesting indeed. Who's going to be fast around there? Is Noble going to help his teammate now that he's wrapped up the championship? We will find out next week at the Season 7 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix for round 14. I've been Matthew Gallagher, and thank you very much, Scott, for commentating with me today.
Not a problem. Pleasure as always. I'll catch you guys at Yas Marina. Hopefully, we'll see a battle for second ever championship all the way to the final round.
We'll see you next week for the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.